Welcome back, my good peoples. Uh, this is Awkward Beginnings, and we come to do another review, man. Y'all check me out. Everybody get in here, hit that like button, share, hype. Do what you can for me, man. That's all I ask. But let's check out this video right here. This is a Brinks driver. I guess he gets caught. He gets caught. Stealing 500K, something like that. You know what I mean? It's pretty good, man. I think this is on Law of Crime, Crime of Law, something like that. So yeah, y'all check this out real quick. While I find it. We will be reviewing this story about the Brinks driver. You know what I mean? So hold on. Here it go right here, y'all. Y'all hit that like button for your boy. Yeah, like I said, y'all hit that like button for me. Let's get to it. This is the Brinks driver. Black brother get caught stealing 500K. Y'all check this out. I appreciate everybody for coming. Here it go. One second, y'all. Hold on.
Jonah, I need you to come with us.
Why? I've answered all your questions. I don't understand.
We've spoken with your brother.
This is Jonah Bassard, a Brinks armored truck driver in Mobile, Alabama. The investigators approaching him know what he did, and he's about to find out that
Mobile, Alabama. That's what I was meaning to say. I wasn't sure what city this was in, but and like I said, black Brinks truck driver. The guys that deliver the money from bank to bank or whatever. But yeah, here you go, y'all. Thanks for coming over.
his brother told them everything.
He doesn't know anything about this. He wasn't even there.
He's already told us about the plan.
There was no plan. I don't know what he told you, but I was robbed. I had zip ties up.
4 days earlier, Jonah Bassard had called 911 from a gas station parking lot on Higgins Road, voice shaking, claiming 2 armed men had just robbed his armored truck at gunpoint. He said they zip-tied his wrists. He said they took everything. He said he fired a shot at the getaway car as it sped away. Mobile police put out an all-points bulletin for a blue Infiniti G35 with aftermarket rims. They canvassed the neighborhood. They checked every camera within a mile radius. And what they found didn't match a single word of his story. So
you can't get away with shit like this nowadays, you know what I mean? Like surveillance, the cameras, all the technology, man, is basically, I ain't gonna say it's impossible, but you got to be very smart to get away with stuff like this. It's very hard with today's technology.
Continue. Have you ever wondered how much cash is actually inside one of those armored trucks you see at the bank? Drop your guess in the comments. And if you're not already subscribed, do it now. This one is intense. Dwayne Bassard was born in 1995 in Pritchard, Alabama, a small city just north of Mobile, where the unemployment rate has hovered near 15% for most of his life. His father worked maintenance at the Alabama State Docks for 23 years. His mother worked double shifts as a home health aide, visiting elderly patients across Mobile County 6 days a week. Raised Jonah and his younger brother Isaiah in a 2-bedroom duplex on Wilson Avenue, a street where every third house had a for sale sign and half the driveways were empty. Jonah played running back at Vigor High School, not a star, but reliable. 3rd string most of junior year, 2nd string as a senior. His coaches remembered him as coachable, quiet. the kind of player who showed up early and stayed late but never quite broke through. He graduated in 2013 with a 2.4 GPA and no college prospects. His guidance counselor's notes, later obtained by investigators, described him as pleasant but directionless, would benefit from structure. Structure came in the form of minimum wage jobs, rallies on Spring Hill Avenue, checkers on Government Boulevard, where he lasted 8 months before a new manager cut everyone's hours, a brief stint at a tire shop that ended when the owner sold the business. By 2017, Jonah was 22 years old, living in his childhood bedroom, cycling through applications for anything that paid more than $10 an hour. When he saw the Brinks posting on Indeed, $14.50 an hour to start, full benefits, company vehicle, he applied the same day.
$14. That had to have been a while ago, because nowadays McDonald's paid $20 and $21 an hour. So yeah, that had to have been a long time ago. I think these guys get paid like $23, $24 an hour in today's times.
Brinks hired him in March 2018. His background check came back clean. The regional operations manager noted that Jonah interviewed well and expressed a genuine interest in building something stable. He started on a training route, riding shotgun with a senior driver for 6 weeks. The senior driver taught him the protocol, how to log each pickup, how to secure the cargo. He also taught him the shortcuts, where the cameras had blind spots, which stops had lazy clerks who didn't count the bags. Jonah listened. Jonah learned. Jonah took notes. By 2020, Jonah had been promoted twice. He was now a lead driver, responsible for some of the highest value routes in the mobile area. His supervisors praised his punctuality. His route completion times were consistently in the top quartile. He had never triggered an internal audit. To everyone at the depot, Jonah Bassard was exactly what a good Brinks driver looked like. What no one knew was that Jonah had been stealing since his 3rd month on the job. An armored truck is not a bank vault on wheels. It's a logistics operation. And like any logistics operation, it runs on trust. Drivers are trained to follow strict protocols, never deviate from the route, never leave the vehicle unattended, never open the cargo hold without authorization. Every bag is logged. Every stop is GPS tracked. Every second of the route is theoretically accountable. But theory and practice are different things. The Brinks Depot in Mobile handles pickups for over 40 financial institutions across 3 counties: banks, credit unions, check cashing stores, large retailers with significant cash volume. On a typical weekday, the depot processes between $2 and $4 million in currency. The drivers who transport that currency are trusted employees, vetted through background checks and drug screenings, trained in defensive driving and conflict de-escalation. They are not, however, watched every second of every shift. In Mobile, a single Brinks driver might service 15 to 20 stops in a single shift. The depot relies on end-of-day reconciliation. Drivers return their bags, a clerk counts the totals, and any discrepancies are flagged. The problem is that discrepancies happen constantly. Tellers miscount. Bags are mislabeled. Paperwork gets lost between the branch and the depot. A shortage of a few $100s is almost never investigated unless it recurs in a pattern. The system is designed to catch patterns, not single incidents. It is designed to catch stupidity, not patience. And Jonah had patience. He also understood something else: the secondary passenger compartment. Every Brinks truck has a rear cargo area, sealed, alarmed, monitored by sensors that track when the door opens and how long it stays open. But it also has a smaller secondary compartment in the front passenger area, used for low-value pickups, emergency storage, and driver supplies. That compartment is not directly monitored. It's not alarmed. It doesn't trigger a log entry when you open it. And on a busy route, with 15 stops and 100 bags to track and paperwork for each one, No one is watching what goes in and out of it. The compartment was supposed to be used for small pickups, a few $1,000s from a convenience store, petty cash from a restaurant making a night deposit. But there was no sensor to verify what went in. No camera pointed at the driver's hands. No audit trail for bags that never made it to the cargo hold. Jonah had been skimming from that compartment for nearly 3 years. A few hundred here, 1,000 there. Small enough to fall within the margin of error that every depot manager accepted as the cost of doing business. Large enough, over time, to add up to $134,700. Money that Brinks wouldn't even realize was missing until investigators started pulling the threads after the robbery. Money that had been absorbed into the noise of a system that moved millions every week and couldn't account for every dollar. The staged robbery was not a desperate act. It was calculated, rehearsed, and planned weeks in advance. The plan began in December 2020. Jonah had given notice at Brinks. His final day was scheduled for January 8th, 2021. He knew his route schedule for the first week of January, and he knew that January 5th included a pickup from New Horizon Credit Union, one of the largest single-day cash transfers on his entire schedule. Between $400,000 and $500,000 in cash, bundled and ready for transport.
Oh yeah, he was getting ready for this shit. Look at him. Look at him party. Like this is the last celebration right here. The last party. Gonna get that money and move out the country, he thought, at least.
The execution required 3 people. Jonah would control the truck and the placement of the money. Isaiah, his younger brother, would be one of the robbers. A third associate would complete the team. The plan was simple. Jonah would load the bags into the secondary passenger compartment instead of the secure rear cargo hold. He would stop at a predetermined gas station. The robbers would be waiting. They would rush him, take the bags, and flee. And Jonah would call 911, playing the traumatized victim. The morning of January 5th, Jonah arrived at the depot at 6:15 a.m. When he reached the bag...
Jobs like that, they give you enough rope to hang yourself, man, every time. And it seemed like it's always, well, you know what, I seen another video where they had, looked like a retired Mexican guy that was doing armored truck deliveries. They got caught. I think he got caught stealing like 100,000 or something like that. You know what I mean? And he kind of just had enough, seemed like it, and shit, he took a shitload of money at one time and just quit his job. You know what I'm saying? Like he knew he was gonna get caught. He just seemed like, you know, he had enough, and he knew that they were watching him, so you know, he quit.
Bags from New Horizon Credit Union, he separated them. The smaller denomination bills went into the secure rear compartment. The larger bills, the 50s and 100s, went into the secondary passenger area. No one noticed. No one asked. By 9:30 a.m., his truck was carrying $489,000 in cash, and the highest value bags were sitting 12 inches from his right hand. At 9:47 a.m., Jonah pulled into Doug's Quick Mart on Higgins Road. He filled the tank. He went inside to buy coffee. And when he walked back out, 2 men were waiting for him. One of them was his brother, Isaiah Campbell. Isaiah...
I wonder how they found out that was his brother, that his brothers and them was out there waiting for him. It's crazy. At the end, they probably all told on each other, but I wonder how they knew that that was his brother, though.
Rushed Jonah, threw him to the ground, and pressed a handgun to his back. The third man grabbed the bags from the secondary compartment. 6 bags, 11 seconds. Both men jumped into a silver Infiniti G35 and sped away. As the car pulled away, Jonah drew his company-issued firearm and fired a single shot in their general direction. The bullet went low and wide. Not a miss, but theater. A gunshot that witnesses would remember. A detail that would make his story more convincing. He waited 30 seconds. Then he called 911. He said he had been robbed at gunpoint. He said 2 masked men had ambushed him He said he had fired at the fleeing vehicle in self-defense. Every single word was a lie. And for 4 days, everyone believed him. Mobile police responded to Doug's Quick Mart within 4 minutes of the 911 call. 2 patrol units arrived first, followed by a supervisor, followed by detectives from the robbery division. Jonah was still on the ground when they arrived, wrists zip-tied. Loosely, investigators would later note, so loosely that one detective could slip his finger between the plastic and Jonah's skin without effort. He was shaking. He was crying. He gave a detailed statement about the 2 masked men who had ambushed him. He described the car, silver Infiniti, 4 doors, aftermarket rims. He described the guns, 1 handgun, 1 AR-style rifle. He described the sequence of events with the precision of someone who had rehearsed it. Every detail except the truth. The police put out an all-points bulletin. They canvassed the neighborhood. They interviewed the clerk inside the gas station, who confirmed she had heard a gunshot, but hadn't seen the robbery itself. They collected shell casings. They photographed the scene. They treated Jonah like what he claimed to be, a victim of violent crime, an employee who had been doing his job when armed men attacked him. The first crack...
And that's what probably got him caught. He didn't rehearse his story. A lot of times in situations like that, they'll sit down and listen to you talk, and they'll go over your story over again, and they'll see the flaws in your story, and that'll give them an idea that something ain't right, and that'll make them go deeper into their background checks. Start harder. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, B Down was right, man. He probably should have rehearsed his story a little bit better.
In his story came within hours. GPS data from the armored truck showed that Jonah had deviated from his assigned route that morning, stopping at an address on Tufts Road, less than a mile from the gas station, for approximately 4 minutes. The stop was not on his route sheet. There was no pickup scheduled at that location. When investigators pulled the address, it came back to a house later linked to a family friend of Isaiah Campbell, the same Isaiah Campbell who had been tagged in social media photos with Jonah 2 weeks earlier. When investigators pulled traffic camera footage from the Higgins and Tufts, they found the silver Infiniti G35 parked on a side street, engine running, waiting, at 9:41 a.m., 6 minutes before the robbery, 6 minutes before Jonah pulled into the gas station, 6 minutes before 2 men ambushed him in a parking lot they had somehow known he would be in, at a time they had somehow known he would arrive, with a plan to steal bags that had somehow been placed in a compartment they could access without forcing open the secure cargo hold. The second crack came from ballistics. Jonah claimed he fired at the fleeing vehicle in self-defense, the desperate act of a man trying to protect himself and the company's property. But the trajectory analysis told a different story. The single bullet he fired had been aimed low and wide, not at the car, not at the suspects.
This let you know that you can't get away with this type of stuff. With all of the surveillance and technology that they got now, they're gonna catch you one way or another. Like, technology is so up right now. There's cameras everywhere. They got like underground tracking surveillance. You just can't get away with this type of stuff now. This was like 2017, I believe they say, but in 2026, like this type of stuff is like pretty much impossible. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
But at the asphalt, approximately 15 feet to the left of the vehicle. It was not the shot of a man defending himself. It was the shot of a man creating evidence. It was theater. The third crack came from a storage unit on Schillinger Road, and that crack would break the case wide open. On January 8th, 2021, 3 days after the robbery, FBI agents obtained a federal search warrant for a storage unit on Schillinger Road, registered in the name of Jonah T. Bessard. The warrant was based on a tip from a confidential informant who had identified the location as a place where Jonah had been seen multiple times in the weeks before the robbery. When agents arrived at 6:45 a.m., they found the unit padlocked with a combination lock. They cut the lock and opened the door. What they found inside would become the centerpiece of the federal case.
Sound like a jealous friend to me. Somebody went back and gave them the scoop.
Stacked in boxes and plastic bins, bundled in rubber bands and bank straps, $120,470 in cash. Some of it still bore the New Horizon Credit Union stamps. Some of it was loose, stuffed into shoeboxes and duffel bags. The money had been sorted by denomination, hundreds in one bin, 50s in another, smaller bills in a third. It was organized. It was methodical. It was the work of someone who had been doing this for a long time. But the cash was not the only thing in the unit. 6 handguns, 2 Glocks, a Sig Sauer, a Smith & Wesson revolver, and 2 unregistered pistols with the serial numbers filed off. 2 AR-style pistols with extended magazines. 11 rifles, hunting rifles, tactical rifles. 1 antique lever action that looked like it belonged in a museum. 1 shotgun, pump action, loaded. And in a manila folder, tucked between 2 boxes of ammunition, a handwritten list, later matched to Jonah's handwriting by FBI forensic analysts, detailing pickup amounts dating back to August 2018.
What a damn fool.
The list was the smoking gun. Each entry included a date, a route number, and a dollar amount. $450, $1,100, $800, $2,200. Small amounts, individually unremarkable, the kind of discrepancies that got written off as counting errors or paperwork mistakes. But when agents added up every entry on that list, 3 years of notations, page after page of careful records, they arrived at $134,700. $134,700, stolen over 34 months, in addition to the $489,000 taken in the staged robbery. The total theft, $503,230. Within hours of the storage unit search, investigators had obtained arrest warrants for Jonah, Sierra, and Isaiah. Sierra Briannia Overton, Jonah's girlfriend of 2 years, the woman he had been living with since 2019, was arrested at their apartment on January 9th. She had $8,400 in cash in her bedroom closet and text messages on her phone discussing the come-up and Jay's thing. Isaiah Campbell was picked up the same afternoon at a relative's house in Pritchard. He was wearing new Jordans, purchased, investigators would later confirm, with cash 3 days after the robbery. And Jonah was arrested at the Brinks depot 4 days after he had called 911 claiming to be a victim, surrounded by the same colleagues who had trusted him for 3 years, in the same building where he had loaded bags into his truck every morning and told himself no one would ever find out. The confrontation happened at the Brinks depot on Rangeline Road, just after 9 a.m. on January 14th, 2021. Jonah had come in.
Message to the kids: y'all get a damn job, man, because crime is basically impossible. You can't get away with this type of shit now. I know a easy lick sounds real cool, real easy to get away, but look what happened. They thought they had this story mapped out and everything, and ended out horrible. You know what I mean? He ended up
into complete paperwork for what he still believed would be his final days of employment. He had not yet been told that his resignation had been superseded by his termination, effective immediately upon review of the investigation. He was standing at the dispatch counter, reviewing his manifest, making small talk with a colleague about weekend plans, when 2 mobile police detectives walked through the front entrance. He saw them before they reached him. His colleague would later tell investigators that Jonah's expression didn't change, that he kept talking, kept reviewing his paperwork, kept pretending everything was normal, even as the detectives closed the distance. It was only when they stopped directly in front of him that he set down his pen.
His poker face wasn't working at the time, I guess.
Mr. Bassard, we need you to come with us. Jonah's voice was steady. His hand stayed on the counter. Come with you. I've answered all your questions. I don't understand what else you need from me. We've spoken with your brother. The pause lasted 2 full seconds. Jonah's eyes moved.
Oh yeah, he knew his brother gave it up. His brother told it all.
Left, then right, then back to the detective's face. My brother, Isaiah doesn't know anything about this. He wasn't even there. The detective didn't blink. He's already told us about the plan, Jonah. The storage unit, the list, all of it. There was no plan. Jonah's voice rose. His composure cracked. I don't know what he told you, but I was robbed. I had zip ties on my wrists. I was on the ground with a gun in my back. I would never. Jonah. The detective's voice was calm, almost gentle. We found the storage unit. We found the money. We found the list, the one you wrote with your handwriting, dating back to 2018. He stopped talking. His hands, which had been gesturing, dropped to his sides. He stared at the detective for 3 full seconds without blinking. The colleague who had been talking to him about weekend plans took a step back. The dispatch clerk behind the window looked away. Then he said, I want a lawyer. Those were the last words Jonah Bassard spoke to investigators. He was handcuffed in the
That's the smartest thing he could have ever said is, I need a lawyer.
Dispatch area, walked past the same colleagues who had waved at him every morning for 3 years, and placed in the back of an unmarked police vehicle. The depot fell silent as they drove away. Stories like this rarely make national news. They get buried in local coverage and forgotten within a week. But the pattern keeps repeating. Trusted employees, systems with gaps, and the people who exploit them. If you want to see more stories like this, subscribe now and hit that notification bell. We cover these cases weekly. Jonah Bassard was indicted by a federal grand jury in the Southern District of Alabama on January 15th, 2021, one day after his arrest. The charge, bank theft, a violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 2113. Prosecutors argued that because the stolen funds belonged to New Horizon Credit Union, a federally insured financial institution, the crime fell under federal jurisdiction. The staged robbery,
Going to the feds, Fed lockup.
they noted in their filing, was not merely theft. It was an elaborate fraud designed to conceal years of prior criminal conduct and obstruct the investigation that would inevitably follow. Jonah was denied bail. The court cited flight risk. He had been days away from leaving his job and had access to significant cash, and the seriousness of the charges. He was held at the Mobile County Metro Jail pending trial. In April 2021, after 3 months of negotiations between his public defender and federal prosecutors, Jonah pleaded guilty. There was no trial. His attorney, a federal public defender named Carla Hutchins, negotiated a deal that acknowledged Jonah's cooperation in identifying the full scope of the theft and the recovery of a significant portion of the stolen funds. In exchange, prosecutors agreed not to pursue additional charges related to the firearms found in the storage unit, weapons that could have added years to his sentence. At sentencing, the prosecutor read from a victim impact statement submitted by the operations director of New Horizon Credit Union. This was not a robbery. This was a calculated betrayal executed over years by someone we trusted with our members' livelihoods. Mr. Bassard was entrusted with our members' money, their savings, their paychecks, the deposits they made to pay rent and feed their families. He exploited that trust methodically.
That shit was all insured. Knock it off.
And without remorse. And when he decided he wanted more, when small thefts were no longer enough, he staged a violent crime scene and wasted the resources of every law enforcement officer who responded. He lied to their faces for 4 days while they searched for suspects who didn't exist. Our members deserve better. Our community deserves better. And the system that to happen deserves a hard look at its own failures. Senior U.S.
Try doing that type of shit now, though, man. It's tough. It's hard to do.
District Judge William Steele addressed Jonah directly before pronouncing sentence. His words would be quoted in local news coverage for months afterward. Mr. Bassard, I have reviewed your background. I have read the letters from your family asking for leniency. I have considered your age, your lack of prior criminal record, and the cooperation you provided after your arrest. And I find none of it sufficient to explain or mitigate what you did. You had every opportunity to build an honest life. You had stable employment at a company that paid you fairly and promoted you twice. You had a path forward. Instead, you chose to steal, methodically, repeatedly, and ultimately theatrically. The staged robbery was not desperation. It was not poverty. It was not addiction. It was arrogance. You believed you were smarter than the system. You believed you could take $500,000 and walk away. You were wrong. This court sentences you to 24 months in federal custody, to be followed by 3 years of supervised release. You will pay $500.
That's what I was waiting to see. How much time he was going to get, 24 months. And he probably got out early for good time, halfway house programs and stuff like that. But everybody that's in here, y'all think to yourself, man, like, if you work for Brinks and you had a elaborate theft ring that you could do, and you probably knew you would get caught and do only 18 months or whatever, would you do that knowing that you got $500,000 hid somewhere, for when you get out? You know what I mean? I know that's something to think about. Y'all put that in the chat. Would y'all do that? Would y'all waste 2 years of your life to know that there's going to be $500,000 waiting for you when you get out?
$3,230 in restitution to New Horizon Credit Union. And you will carry this conviction, this record of betrayal, for the rest of your life. Jonah Bassard reported to FC Wire Pensacola, a low-security federal correctional institution in Northwest Florida, in October 2021. He received credit for time served since his arrest in January. His projected release date was January 2023. His girlfriend, Sierra Briannia Overton, pleaded guilty to state charges of receiving stolen property and theft conspiracy in Mobile County Circuit Court. She was sentenced to 5 years probation with conditions including 200 hours of community service and full cooperation with federal investigators. She was not required to pay.
Yeah, she basically told, that's basically what they're saying. She cooperated 100%. You know what I mean?
A restitution beyond what was recovered from her possession. His brother, Isaiah Campbell, pleaded guilty to state charges of theft of property first degree and conspiracy. He was sentenced to 18 months in Mobile County Metro Jail, with credit for time served and eligibility for work release after 6 months. Their relationship, according to family members who spoke to local reporters, has not recovered. The Brinks Depot on Rangeline Road implemented new protocols within 6 months of the arrest. Dual driver routes became mandatory for all pickups exceeding $100,000. GPS tracking.
The crazy thing about that is companies like Brinks, they use past situations to make their company better, to upgrade their security, to get their surveillance and their programming, and also know how a criminal thinks. They use past situations like that to build the technology of their company and how not to get robbed. That's why now it's basically impossible to do something like that, because the criminals of the past has taught them how to protect their money, how to protect their investment. But it's crazy.
Was extended to secondary compartments. Random cash audits were instituted at mid-route stops, and every new hire was required to watch a training video that included, without naming names, a case study of an insider threat who had exploited system gaps for years before his own robbery. The company declined to comment on the case. They did not.
So now they know what to look for. They basically can see, not saying that they can they know magic, or they can read the future, but they know the behavior of a criminal before it happens. Through old crimes, they can see something like this getting ready to happen, and technology has prepared them for people like this and how to deal with them. And they're not 100%. They're not 100% theft proof, but as the time go and they deal with more theft like this, their company will get better on knowing how to deal with a situation like this.
Respond to requests about whether any supervisors had been disciplined for failing to detect the prior thefts. Jonah Bassard was released from federal custody in January 2023, having served his full sentence. 28 years old. He owed over $500,000 in restitution, a debt that would follow him for decades, garnished from every paycheck, attached to every tax refund, a permanent reminder of what he had done. He was barred from working in security, logistics, banking, or any position requiring a fiduciary bond. His employment options for the rest of his life would be limited to jobs that didn't run background checks. And every single colleague who had trusted him, who had
He'll be working in the warehouses for the rest of his life, pretty much.
waved at him in the morning, who had covered his roots when he was sick, who had believed his story for 4 days while police searched for armed robbers who didn't exist, would remember the moment they found out what Jonah Bassard really was. That case was textbook. The planning, the execution, the arrogance of someone who thought.
All right, y'all. That was a pretty good story. Later on, I'm gonna do another live. There's another guy that got caught stealing money from a Brinks truck. But yeah, thanks everybody. Everybody hit that like and share this video if y'all can. You know what I mean? And I appreciate everybody for coming and checking me out. My boy B Down, thanks for coming. Thanks for hitting that like for me. I appreciate y'all, man.